Okay, welcome. Welcome to this free event all about the fairy realm, all about the nature spirit realm. This is in conjunction with my Fairy Shamanic Magic program. I'm Tricia Carr. If we haven't met before, welcome. I'm excited to connect with you and your love for nature and the earth and spirits. That's what we're talking about here. I'm going to be talking about the quality of nature spirits. We're going to do a little ritual, a little bit of an altered trance kind of ritual. You can sit back and partake of it. And I'm also going to do a little attuning education, a little bit of communication about about nature spirits, about the fairy realms, and how you can connect with them. We do have the program Fairy Shamanic Magick starting very soon at the time that we are broadcasting this, so be sure to check that link and join us. And you're going to get a little sample of it here. So let's talk about nature spirits and fairies. I love to refer to the earth as Gaia. Gaia is the heart of all of this. Gaia is the heart of our whole manifestation, our life's journey. And Mother Gaia as that embrace of who we truly are, who loves us so deeply and who loves absolutely every creature and plant and breeze that occurs on this plane. Gaia is alive, Gaia is awake, and her signature is very similar to that of source energy. And meaning the way that she feels, the way we feel when we connect with her, feels like being connected with God presence. And maybe we feel her as God the Mother, if you like the word God at all. At any rate, we can definitely say that Gaia is our source and she is our resource, a resource for abundance and manifestation. And she is the one to whom the fairies, the elemental devas, nature and all of the spiritual ecology, she is the one to whom they are devoted and dedicated. So let's get into what this whole deal is about. Let's just talk about, by the way, I have notes. That's why I look at the screen sometimes. I wrote the notes myself. I've been writing teaching outlines, well, actually, since I was a teenager. I started teaching as a teenager. So if you see me looking at my notes, it's because I want to stay really on path and deliver to you something coherent. So let's talk about the nature spirit realms. The fairy realm we love to talk about fairies. Fairies, just you say the word and you get excited. I mean, probably that's why you are even watching this. You get excited about the concept, the idea of fairies. And if you have children or if you've ever connected with a child, when he or she is just lit up about fairies, that's the twinkle, that's the excitement that I feel flicker in my heart when I even say the word fairies. And we are going to connect you with your Fire Fae or a Fire Fae today. But fairies are actually it's kind of like the general population of the nature spirit realm. And so I'm going to talk a bit about, just nature spirits in general so that we can kind of anchor into this living intelligence that is present within the earth, within you and as you. And as the tree, and as your beloved, and as maybe your animal family. Of course, I say maybe, as in maybe you have animal family. Well, yes, they are also within and around and supporting and helping us to manifest and live as any kind of entity that is on this plane. So the ecology, the population of fairies and of nature spirits are, I would say, at least as varied, dynamic, different. I don't think you could put a number on it, but as varied as all of the physical entities on the earth. And I mean the human race, and I mean every single kind of animal, insect, but I also mean the trees, the flowers, the inhabitants of the ocean, and the elements themselves, as varied as water and the different bodies of water, as varied as the different qualities of fire, of air, and of the earth. As varied as that. So I think that that because they are actually the fractal light composing that, and they are true living intelligences, autonomous, individuated, and also collaborative and unified with the earth and with nature as nature. So these intelligences, they collaborate with the processes of life. And to say they collaborate, again, they just are the processes of life. But I'm just to make it a little bit easier for us to grasp. The intelligences of the nature spirit realm, they are a part of our growth. They are part of decay and dematerialization. They are the weather. They are fertility. And they are the intrinsically just the cycle of the planet and all of the cycles. So in the Fairy Shamanic Magick program, we are approaching fairies as conscious partners who are within Gaia's ecosystem. And they're not just fantasies. They're not just silly things that people are using to create illusion about their life. We're not engaging them as difficult or combative, or we are engaging them as allies. Does that exist in heaven and earth? Yes. But do we have to invite it? Absolutely not. We are inviting the living intelligence, and life is collaborative. And so we are inviting the benevolent, collaborative nature intelligences. So let's talk about the human consciousness and nature consciousness as they exist in relationship, because this relationship between ourselves and nature spirits, it influences our intuition, our creativity, our manifestation, really absolutely everything, our healing, our well-being. And we'll break all of that down. I think it'll just be pretty implicit and explicit as we just look at some of these different concepts around these beings. So let's just talk about some common assumptions about fairies and the nature spirit realm. And also let's just look at historical and cultural context, because pretty much, I think we could almost say every culture throughout history has described nature spirits, nature intelligences, fae, devas, land spirits, elementals, or guardians of the land, guardians of the plane, guardians of the space. In European folklore, and actually it's not just folklore, honestly, people living in Europe and England, Wales, obviously Ireland and Scotland, they have close and collaborative relationships with the Fae, as do Iceland. I heard somewhere that in Iceland, before they build a new structure on the land, they call in a fairy communicator and have that person communicate with the fairies about what would be best, and basically move into a partnership with the fairies and the nature spirits of the place before they just take their human, bold, blunt, bull in a china shop energy into it. So Celtic practices, Celtic paradigms describe them as the she, which is spelled Sidhe. That is a strong part of I'm like 98% that culture. So this is in my blood as well as in my heart and my spiritual lineage. And then we also have indigenous cultures, indigenous North American cultures that describe the spiritual intelligence that are connected to mountains and rivers and forests and winds. It's just much more present in culture than it is not present in culture, just because if you're like me and you live in the United States in this really kind of, in a lot of ways, harsh, artificial kind of existence, we are rare. We are more rare than are most of the other cultures who embrace the validity of connecting in the interbetween, not just material, physical materialism. At any rate, We have the ancient cultures who recorded interaction with these realms. We have children who are usually, frequently, often very connected and report perceiving them. And we also have individuals, even in this Western culture, who might enter altered states, whether by dreaming, dream work, trance journeying, as what we do in the Fairy Shamanic Magick program, or even plant medicine journeys, ayahuasca, or even psilocybin and other kinds of plant medicines that can alter your consciousness. And in all of those experiences, these kinds of, whether it's the Fae, devas, obviously many other of the spiritual ecosystem are encountered, but it is a relevant experience. Now, each of these different ways that they are connected with, sure, people can and do dismiss them as fantasy, or maybe the immaturity of a child, or just something that is like a chemically triggered hallucination, or just mythology. However, there is also another perspective that is very grounded. There's also another perspective that is even scientifically researched. And this perspective is that human perception can, and occasionally does, and can be directed to do so, that it opens to layers of reality that exist beyond ordinary sensory awareness. Something that is beyond, within, and all throughout the nature of consciousness. So, this is the place from which we work. We can find ourselves, that we can ground very easily in it. Now, here's what's interesting also is that when we connect with the nature spirit realm, it actually isn't necessary that we believe fully in it, because it's not based on belief. It's actually based on relationship, the relational principle. Nature spirits, they participate in the energetic ecology of the earth. And you are the earth. I am the earth. We are nature. We're not in nature, on the earth. We are the earth. We are nature. And they are participating. They are co-creating. They are the actual essence of our essence and of our physical reality. So these beings interact and even facilitate growth, vitality, and manifestation. And every person is carrying some kind of relationship with the nature spirit realm, even if they aren't really consciously carrying that relationship. You just are. So it's also, more common, probably generally speaking, when people speak of having spirit guides, well, the nature spirits are also spirit guides. And do they need our attention? Do they need our acknowledgement? No. Can we work with them more intentionally if we give attention, relationship, and intentionally collaborate? Well, I would think so. And so these guides, there are guides within the nature spirit realm. And, it's interesting also, people will accept other people's religions. Well, maybe not always accept it, but, it isn't so strange for maybe a person who says they have a relationship with their God, or the representation of their God, some other name, and yet they may not accept something like having a relationship with the fairy realm. We don't need to judge. I'm just, again, grounding us in the possibility. And again, it doesn't even require full belief. And I'll tell you this too, that I started practicing mediumship before I believed that we existed beyond physical life. And it just worked because I just opened to it. So whether you have full belief in it as a literal, or if you have just an openness to it as metaphorical, your open, curious, and respectful approach to it is all that is necessary. So let's talk about the energy dynamic of working with fairies, because the fairy realm, within the realms of nature, they're actually within the realms of manifestation, really like at the tipping point of manifestation, the tipping point of materialization. They are fractals of material reality. So that actually feels highly accelerated. It's like they're in a highly accelerated, compared to us, field of manifestation. Their responsiveness to energy, emotion, intention, it is quick. And so what is great about that is as we work with them, as we get clear on our intention, things can move quickly. And then again, working with them in order to foster a stronger collaboration with them, it requires of us to do self-inquiry. It requires of us to be respectful of ourselves and of nature and of the entities of nature. It requires us to release distortion, release doubt, release self-judgment in order for us to have a clearer, coherent working relationship with them. How beautiful. It's just necessary in order to work with them. Now, as they are in this accelerated layer of the field of manifestation, it is, if you're deep into your metaphysical, spiritual, quantum intelligence study, they're kind of like a mirror realm to the astral and etheric planes, because things move very quickly there. Because again, if, like, for example, if you were to astral project, you would be leaving the physical reality, leaving the adherence to physical reality, and your thoughts and feelings would move you like that. It's similar. But the interesting thing is that it actually moves quickly into material reality. So for this reason, it is really important. It is key for us to cultivate qualities of presence, where we have a grounded awareness in the physical body and in the environment. Respect, recognizing the intelligence and the autonomy of these beings, of fairies and devas, the autonomy and intelligence of ourselves, and also the autonomy and intelligence of the earth. They are devoted to Gaia. So if you have a heart for environmental, ecological, just love of the earth, of nature, of animals, of children too. They particularly, because children are more natural versions of the humans, right? So if with that, the respect and a devotion and dedication to Gaia and the well-being and the love that she is just is for us, this is who they want to work with more swiftly, more passionately. And also, we also want to cultivate the quality of sovereignty. Now, I mentioned that in respect as well, but sovereignty meaning that we remain centered in our own energy and intention, and recognize that it is that we have the capacity to surrender and be responsible. Responsible is your ability to respond. So presence will stabilize your capacity to perceive. Respect creates a harmonious relationship, and sovereignty is maintaining the collaboration. So this really matters because the nature spirit realm exists for Gaia, as Gaia, supporting Gaia. And human beings are participating in that fabric, whether we are aware of it or not, whether our connection and collaboration with the fairy and nature spirit realms is active or dormant to our awareness. So once again, belief is not the central issue here, it's relationship. And a person can dismiss ancient testimony as myth, children's perception as fantasy or immaturity, or trance experiences just as, hallucination from chemical alteration. But the pattern is existing across cultures, and the experiences are showing us a deeper layer of consciousness that is truly available to us. So the invitation to the work is actually simple. We approach the earth as living intelligence, with veneration, with love, receiving her compassion. And we also we cultivate a respectful collaboration with the beings who are moving within that intelligence, not just within it, moving that creation. And we recognize that this relationship can and does influence our intuition, our creativity, and our manifestation prowess. And finally, I will say also that we want to work in the realm again, we can look to children, look to how we were as a child, of awakened imagination. We have all been shamed into, whether it's by society or our parents or peers, that's just your imagination. Let's recognize that there is awakened imagination, which is unified, which is respectful, which is patient and waits for, if it's for me and it is helpful to me and it is creating more greatness and humility within me, then it is my truth. But then the capital T truth that is shared, we wait for invitation. We make sure that it helps all and harms none. And that's a magical principle. And incidentally, in this next event, when the next two events that I'm offering in this series, we're going to look at what we mean by shamanic, and we're going to look at what we mean by magic. So within the Fairy Shamanic Magick program, we are exploring fairies and nature spirit realms as the open doorway, and for us to have that intentional partnership with the spiritual living world. All right. Having said that, take a little sip of water, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about the element of fire. We are going to be working in the Fairy Shamanic Magick program with fire, water, earth, air, and spirit. So let's talk about the element of fire. As we work with the living intelligence of the elements, the elementals, and the fairies, each element and the attending entities of that element, they're carrying physical properties, of course, but also spiritual qualities, an essence of spiritual nature. And these influence and create and collaborate with the human experience in ways that are recognizable to us. So the essence of the element of fire includes transformation, vitality, passion, activation, warmth, anything you can imagine as you think of fire, the way that we use organic language. Fire is powerful, potent, and purifying. And fire converts something from one state into another. As you light wood, it becomes heat and light. It will completely dematerialize something. Raw material can become energy by the application of fire. So take all of that to your emotional, psychological, and spiritual aspects. The element of fire and the attendant devas and fae work with you as the spiritual alchemical process. So because of these qualities, fire has been experienced by us in our lives as motivation, inspiration, and it moves us, it helps to move us forward. Now, let's talk about what we'll go much more deeply into in the Fairy Shamanic Magick program, which is the overarching entities, the ones who oversee the realms, if you will. I think I can say realms of the Fire Fae, the Fire Fairies. I use the word Fae sometimes and fairies interchangeably, F-A-E. It's another word for fairies. So the devas, this word means being of light or illuminated one. And so the devas or the elemental devas of the fire element are called salamanders, like the amphibian, but not the amphibian specifically. It's borrowing that name from the amphibian. And again, I'll explain where that lexiconomy came from in the actual program. But suffice it to say, for now, each of the elements have an overarching deva, and for the element of fire, it is the salamanders. So basically, salamanders are like the governors, the overseers, organizing and flowing the energy of creation through the varied population of the fire fairies. So these devas, they are elemental intelligence, and they also participate with humans. In this particular event, we're gonna talk about a fairy for you, though. So let's talk a little more about the fairies that are connected to the element of fire. They express qualities such as, motivation and drive, creative ignition, warmth and enthusiasm, courage, initiative, and also transformation and purification. The Fire Fae are directly participating in that. Fire brings movement to situations that may feel stagnant, and it activates life force and encourages forward motion. So this element has a strong relationship also with the human nervous system, because the nervous system is electrical pulses. It carries electrical pulses through the body, and electricity is fire. So it's allowing us to have perception, well-being, movement, and response, and clarity. When we have a regulated nervous system, when we have a healed nervous system, then we have a lot more resource for life of all kind, of all manifestations. So the fire element, if it is balanced within us, the nervous system can feel responsive, alive, available, and clear. When the fire element, if it were to be more excessive, think of, again, I say the fire element, I'm talking about the spiritual qualities of fire. So if we had an excessive amount of fire essence, a person might notice that they feel agitated, irritable, restless, or frustrated even, right? So then if the fire element were depleted, it could actually be then the opposite. So if we had an too little fire spiritual essence, we might be low motivation. We would have maybe fatigue, maybe a little sense of depression, difficulty initiating action, and maybe even a creative stagnation and burn out. Literally, the word burnt out is what we use when we're talking about having been overstimulated in the fire element. And now here we are, depleted. So working with the Fire Fae can restore balance in either direction. So for example, if your motivation were feeling low or if you were burnt out, connecting with the Fire Fae energy might help ignite the inspiration and motivation in the forward movement. So we start with spirit before action. That's how we get into the cycle of something like burnout, because we acted before we had the inspiration. We acted before we had the true aligned energy that becomes motivation. So we could spend, if we wanted to stoke that gently, we could spend time with a candle flame, time out in the sun, feeling warmth. And we can do ritual that can help to stimulate the life force. And the ritual is not just something we go through the motions with. We're doing our deep self-inquiry. We're bringing our concern. We're bringing our heart and the issues that we sense in our life or in our inner workings, and we are laying it on the altar of that. We are contemplating it deeply, and we're opening ourselves up to the solution, to the coherent response, and nature spirits can help us with this. So if the nervous system were to be overstimulated or overly reactive, the fire element can also temper and refine. And likewise, just spending time with fire in a ritual. A candle flame is steady and warm and strong. And if you were hyperstimulated in the fire element energy or understimulated, it can bring you into that alignment. So fire energy, the Fire Fae or elemental spirits, can support the process of stabilizing your energy so that vitality can become steady instead of scattered, or steady instead of low and depleted. Therefore, fire, it can teach us balance with its dynamism. Too little can lead to inertia, and too much can lead to volatility, and then you kind of make that cycle all the way around, because when you're volatile, then you become inert. When you're inert, then you might get, frustrated, right? So harmonizing the fire spiritual essence can bring focused energy, warmth, courage, and creative expression. Okay. We're going to be entering into a respectful invitation, a respectful relationship with the Fire Fae. And before we do, I also just wanted to talk about, I'll give an example that a friend, I just spoke with him today, and he doesn't mind at all me telling the story. In fact, he welcomes it. And I'll even use his name because it's easier, because he doesn't mind. His name is Aiden. And he got a new job a couple of months ago. And it's great. It's been going pretty great. And then today when we talked, it's like there's some things about it that are unsustainable, like how much demand there is, how much of the fire element that they're expecting from everyone who works there. He's like, it's just impossible. By the way, my friend is an Aries, so it's kind of like he loves fire. Like, that's what he's all about. But even a fire being like an Aries, if they are overstimulated, pressured to run fire too hot, as I spoke with him today, he did sound a bit burnt out, a bit bummed out, and it's like he already went through frustration and now he's in a little bit of disappointment. So I think it would be great for him to sit and warm himself up with Fire Fae, and I'm going to suggest it to him. So, one last thing is that, can you see fairies? Yes, it is possible. But the thing about seeing fairies, this part, as I said earlier, I mentioned assumption. It's assuming that they are available to you. Because as we assume that we are able to see them, because it requires us to alter even just a little bit to the daydreamy state, to see between the overt, the physical structure. So you might see them between the leaves dancing. If you're looking with your vision slightly blurred, breathing softly, and assume that they are presenting, because they aren't going to just come and knock on your door like, the religious person handing out the little tracts or whatever, or like a salesman, which they don't even have those anymore. They are available, waiting for you to respectfully invite. So it's a sense of being curious and assuming. Now, somewhere in there is a bit of belief, but it doesn't have to be full 100% belief. It's just an opening to it, because they don't trifle with fools, if you will, or maybe they fool in the sense of the innocent and the fresh-minded. They do work with us in that way. So assume, and even with your awakened imagination, allow yourself to see them. And they gave me an invitation, a poem, a spell, and we're going to welcome that in. I'm going to offer us to move into an altered state. I'm going to combine basically a bit of a trance state, and I'm going to guide a little ritual. You could prepare elements and do this along with me, but you can also just sit back and witness it and allow yourself to be devoted to what I'm going to demonstrate. So what we're going to do is turn on some music. So I encourage you to relax and allow your awakened imagination to come forward and just listen to the guidance. I might encourage you to open your eyes at one point so that you can witness the ritual that I'm doing, but you can also just sense it, feel it with your heart. And so we shall begin. Welcome to your sacred practice. in the journey ahead. You will be invited and guided to connect with the realm of nature spirits. And specifically, this is devoted to welcoming a respectful relationship with a fairy in the realm of fire element. And to begin this, just settle in here. And at your own pace, allow yourself to drop into intentional breathing with 5 slow and easy cycles of breathing, allowing your nervous system to soothe and regulate, and feeling gravity as the embrace of Mother Gaia. 5 cycles of intentional breathing. When you finish the cycle of 5 intentional breaths, you can allow your breathing to return to its natural pace. And with that greater intentional support and engagement continuing. And I'm going to guide a ritual to create the relationship with the Fire Fae. Fae being another word for fairy. Fire, the spiritual essence of fire, the element of fire is passion and warmth, transmutation, purification, vitality, motivation, and the presence, as when the candle flame is steady and alive. In a moment, I will move to my ritual space where I have lain an altar cloth. I have set a candle, a crystal to amplify the energies have been selected, and cinnamon, the wood, the tree bark of the cinnamon tree that holds a fiery essence, is also interacting in this ritual. Now, ritual with your intention, with your attention, can summon the spiritual essence of the correspondences that we use, the candle, crystal, the cinnamon, the flame. Allowing yourself to dwell in that liminal space of these spiritual essences, the amplification of a crystal, the spice, the fire that is contained within the bark of cinnamon, and the red candle with its warm, steady flame. As you're contemplating this, also call to your awareness something that the element of fire, its spiritual qualities, might be able to support you in. Are you feeling burnt out? Are you feeling agitated? Is there a way that, in relation to a certain issue, the fire could be balanced? Passion to be attenuated, transformation and purification or warmth and comfort. Take the next few moments here to bring forward the intention, a certain issue that you would like to lay on the altar of this ritual, as if handing it over. I will be silent as you contemplate this. And imagine, or even if you would like to, make a gesture as if you are placing this concern on the altar, giving it over as I light the flame, douse the flame with the cinnamon, and allow the crystal to be anointed with the warmth of the flame. I invite you to witness it either in your comfortable space. You can allow your eyes to remain closed. Or if you are with the video component, you can softly open your eyes, gazing with that gentle kind of, even blurred, peering as I interact with these correspondences on my behalf, on your behalf, and all who come to this ritual. You are invited to allow your awakened imagination to connect with the Fire Fae, who is particularly available and interested in supporting you. And in a moment, if your eyes are closed, you may want to open them for a moment if you would like to allow yourself to find the Fire Fae. Again, with that assumption that they are present and you are witnessing them. Now, it isn't necessary to open your eyes, because even with your eyes open, when you see spirit, you see with your heart. It is translated by your mind's eye. And your physical eyes are not truly the component of the seeing, and yet you can allow yourself to see even with your eyes open. I will recite the invitation, the spell that I was given by Fire Fae for this particular ritual. This spell is called Find the Fire Fae. The light between the leaves, the warmth upon the breeze, in calm passion and nature's fashion, Fire Fae are always near. Open your heart, and with it, peer. With your respectful invitation, you can assume that your Fire Fae is present with you. And since we are human on our side, your Fire Fae may be willing to receive a name, a benchmark for this relationship. So whether it seems as though the Fire Fae is telling you or you are selecting it, what really truly matters is that you trust it as the relational stamp for you to return here. And so now, allow the awareness, the knowing of the name of the Fire Fae to present. Take a few moments here and allow this relationship to bloom like the candle flame. And you may also ask for a certain symbol, something that may be seen in nature or in the formed world. Again, it could be something that you seem to receive or you choose. Either way is just right for this relationship. I'll be silent for the next few moments as you commune with your Fire Fae. And knowing that you can return, whether by name, by symbol, or intention, to this relationship with Fire Fae. And the invitation to help to foster this connection even more is to take a moment over the next 3 days to consider the issue that you placed upon the altar and invite your Fire Fae to support you, to move you, and to be honest with your own heart. And in a moment, I will extinguish the flame of the fire. Before I do, I will once again anoint the flame's glow with the crystal. I will anoint it with the cinnamon, sparking it 3 times. And then with a deep and easy breath, extinguish it. And to seal this ritual, you may speak in your heart or aloud. As surely as I breathe, so shall it be. And dedicate one final cycle of breath. And come on back to the space, opening your eyes. And as you're coming back, I will invite you to, as soon as we finish here, to jot down the name, jot down anything you learned. I laughed at the name of my Fire Fae. I'm not going to share it. I'll share it when we're in the Fairy Shamanic Magick program. I'm not going to share it just now, but it made me laugh and I loved it. So just before we wrap this up, I want to submit an invitation for anyone who feels that resonance, that excitement, the connection to this kind of work. Fairy Shamanic Magick program is a 5-week immersive journey. It's a container of healing, of manifestation, of transformation. And it's into this relationship with the realms of the nature spirits. You will receive a tuning education that will help you to own your partnership with the realms of nature spirits. You will receive trance activations. We will be doing rituals. And you will have not just the 5 weeks of the alive container to be together in the co-resonance, whether you attend all of the meetings live or you watch them passively, it works just the same as long as you are there in the presence of the alive container. And I create the trance activation audios in my studio here. The rituals will be designed. You will also have, it's amazing, it's fun, and it's both experiential and practical, this container. And you'll have a year's access to it, so you can go back over it. There are PDFs, supplemental materials. There are the meditations or the trance journeys that you'll be able to continue to revisit. It's joyful, it's grounded, and it's just one of my favorite things, one of my most favorite ones. It starts March 18th as we are, delivering this live right now. There is a schedule that you can see. I will put the link here. You can find it on my website. And one more thing, too. I wanted to call your attention to the fact that I have an affiliate reward structure. And that is, if you wanted to become an affiliate of this program, if you recommend it to people, you would get $111 commission. If you sold 3 enrollments, but if 3 people you recommended and they signed up, you would get the $333, and you would also get the program for free. And if you've already registered, you would get that refunded, so a value of $666. 5 enrollments gets all of the $555, the free program, plus a $200 bonus. 10 enrollments, all of that plus a $500 bonus. And the people to whom you recommend the program get $11 coupon, $11, 11% off coupon. So if you're interested in that, there's also the form for you to just fill out real quick so that I can set you up. It's very easy. And it's really awesome. So that is our event for the night. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for watching the replay. Thank you for loving Gaia. Thank you for loving nature. And thank you for opening your heart to this work. And just keep nurturing yourself, because Mother Gaia loves you so much. And you know what? I love you, whoever you are.